Welcome back everyone to another video. Today we are looking at the many media interpretations of Carnotaurus, everybody's favorite abellisaurid. This one's pretty exciting because of course Carnotaurus is a pretty popular dinosaur in general, so there are a decent amount of media interpretations of it. Of course I'm not covering every single time it shows up in pop culture. I'm just going to try to get as many as possibly can while having the ones that had, I feel like, the biggest impact on popular culture. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm surprised that it took us this long to talk about this movie, but our first one is Carnotaurus' appearance in Disney's Dinosaur. Now this was definitely a childhood movie of mine. I absolutely love this movie. I can't wait to talk about it more in the future. And of course the primary villain, the primary antagonist of this, or at least meat-eating antagonist, was Carnotaurus. And I really feel like this was pretty much the first place that it made a name for itself. I really admire the fact that Disney decided to do a lesser known theropod, at the time anyway, a lesser known theropod rather than just using T-Rex. Granted, they probably used Carnotaurus because horns, but still really cool that it's included here. That being said though, it is absolutely massive in this movie. Like, it's about T-Rex size. So it kind of seems like they were still having their T-Rex while not having their T-Rex. You know, it actually might even be bigger than T-Rex, but I'm not too sure. But it also does have some telltale signs of Carnotaurus, that being the stubby head and very short arms, although they're not being held backwards like Carnotaurus would in life, although it is covered in osteoderms. Now this is actually a huge misconception with Carnotaurus. There are many who believe that Carnotaurus did have osteoderms. In fact, that was actually the belief for the longest time, which that would be where the misconception comes from. In reality, they had something that's similar to Triceratops or other ceratopsians, where they just had large scales kind of random throughout the body, and not osteoderms as shown here. But we will be seeing a lot of osteoderms on Carnotaurus in the future portrayals of it. Like in Dinosaur King, where he has osteoderms too. But of course, this one is Ace the Carnotaurus, as well as the animal's appearance in the arcade game. Now it looks pretty good here. It definitely looks like a Carnotaurus, which, you know, given that's what they were trying to portray here, good job. You gotta love Dinosaur King and their portrayals of dinosaurs. A lot of them kind of fit the overall idea of dinosaurs in media at the time, which is kind of a shrink-wrapped, really cool stylized looking dinosaurs. But the Carnotaurus Ace here looks fantastic. And of course, I do have to bring up the fact that Ace, you know, being a main character dinosaur, does have a baby version. That is all. After that is our very first documentary in this list, and that is Bizarre Dinosaurs. This little documentary kind of took the time to discuss a lot of interesting and unique looking dinosaurs and kind of tried to, educate the general public about that. One of those dinosaurs was Carnotaurus. It has a strange looking head in this. Like, it just kind of looks a little bit off to me, as well as the horns looking a bit interesting as well. Once again, it does have osteoderms and is pretty shrink wrapped in general, but who knows, maybe this is a starving dinosaur. But then moving on from that, we have Life After Dinosaurs that portrays a green Carnotaurus here. It actually doesn't look bad here. This definitely screams Carnotaurus to its highest degree. Although, once again, it still does have the forward-facing arms rather than held backwards, as we would see in abellisaurids in the future. It, once again, is also pretty shrink-wrapped, but this could be an instance of a starving animal because we do see it fighting the other dinosaurs in this little appearance here. But next up is something that is not really educational, and that is Terra Nova. I'm actually kind of surprised that it took this long for Terra Nova to show up. This is a show that I liked a lot when I was younger. I didn't get the chance to watch the entirety of the show, but I remember seeing bits and pieces, and one of those parts that I remembered was the Carnotaurus. Now, there is some design variation within the Carnotaurus, some with some really cool designs. All in all, this looks pretty decent as Carnotaurus, like it has the horns and everything like that, although the arms are quite a bit long on this guy. You know, abellisaurids typically had shorter arms than even Tyrannosaurus Rex. I know that T-Rex gets a lot of flack for its arms, but Carnotaurus is really the stubby master when it comes to that. And I want to bring this up, it's also shown as being pretty fast in general. This is pretty accurate. It's thought that Carnotaurus was likely one of the fastest dinosaurs out there after analysis of the skeletal material was done. So showing it as a fast-moving dinosaur was pretty dang good. And now we're going animated with the Land Before Time. Now, much like, say, the Allosaurus with this, it definitely just has the basic Land Before Time theropod shape. Like, they're all pretty consistent across the board with like really thick and robust heads and things like that. For the most part, it does fit the Carnotaurus, but it doesn't have, say, things like the shorter arms or anything like that. It also kind of has like forward-facing horns rather than horns that go off to the side that we've more commonly seen, as well as a row of spikes going down its back. This was after I stopped watching Land Before Time, so it was really cool to find out that Carnotaurus was present in this. But another thing that I haven't watched is the Dino King. From what I find, I do believe that Carnotaurus was in this, and from the designs I can find, it's pretty good. You can definitely tell it's a Carnotaurus. It has absolutely huge horns and a kind of red coloration, as well as seemingly lips, but I'm not really able to tell because you can see the teeth quite a bit. Now, something of course I have seen, and that is the Jurassic World franchise. It first made its appearance in Fallen Kingdom, as well as later an appearance in Camp Cretaceous. It looks really good as a design. Like, it matches up to Carnotaurus very well. When you look at it, you can tell that it's Carnotaurus, which is why it's one of my favorite Jurassic World designs. It also has kind of like the rows of osteoderms on the back. Once again, they would have been random scales throughout the body. The arms are portrayed as short, although they are portrayed with like kind of elbows, so kind of like a typical theropod dinosaur arm, but all in all, it's a very good design. But my favorite Jurassic World appearance is definitely the one that we see in Dominion in Malta. It looks so sick here. Like, I love the colors. I love how the overall shape of the animal goes with those colors, as well as like the little details like the broken horn. Kind of seems like this dinosaur went through a lot, and I love the way that it looks here. I'm surprised that it took us this long to get here, but next we have Prehistoric Planet. Now, as you probably can guess, for the most part, Prehistoric Planet has absolutely fantastic designs. Like, they did such care and attention to detail to keeping these designs up to current accurate standards, and that extends to the Carnotaurus. This is definitely one of the best designs that we've seen so far, possessing things like lips, which are likely on theropod dinosaurs, as well as the horns. Only drawback is that it does seem to have the thicker skin on the back that almost look like osteoderms. I do believe that this was animated and everything before the discovery that these were actually thick scales randomly throughout the body, so it wasn't really something they could incorporate, but they did later incorporate it to Majungasaurus in Season 2. So that definitely shows how dedicated they were. But I can't talk about the Prehistoric Planet Carnotaurus without talking about the dance. We of course see the male kind of use its arms in a type of mating ritual dance in a very cool way. This is something that's also plausible because of the range of mobility that abelisaurid arms had. So it's actually possible that they would use them in this sort of way. And adding the bright blue colors was also a very nice touch. Next up is Dinosaur Super World, something that I haven't really gotten the chance to watch yet, but I have seen the little bits and pieces of Carnotaurus, and its design looks fantastic here as well. But it seems like it's pretty common that we see Carnotaurus in a brownish color, because these guys are kind of consistent right here. But one huge praise I want to give is the fact that they gave it the random large scales throughout the body. That's a huge, great attention to detail, as well as the inclusion of lips. I will always point that out if I see it. But now we will go ahead and move on to video games, first with the Isle. Its design looks fantastic here. I'm mainly just looking at Evrima here. It is a bit thin in the design, but it is portrayed as kind of like a swifter animal too in the game. Again, something that is likely extremely accurate. But the arms are great, the horns are great, and it has the random scales. Huge points right there. But I do want to talk about the Hypo Carno that I believe was from Legacy. Of course, it has the longer, bulky arms as well as the kind of crocodilian back. Of course, these are meant to be kind of like mutated dinosaurs in general, so that's why you get things like the huge horns. It's just a terrifying animal in general. And then Path of Titans. Now, of course, there is a mod for Carnotaurus. I won't be looking at that. I will be looking at the Pycnonemosaurus, which of course is not Carnotaurus. It is another abelisaurid, likely the largest abelisaurid, but I know a lot of people will bring it up if I don't mention it, because of course they do have the variant that gives it Carnotaurus horns. It kind of seems like this was their way to put Carnotaurus in the game without putting Carnotaurus in the game. Granted, we have not found a Pycnonemosaurus skull, so maybe they had Carnotaurus-like horns, but either way, I'll just kind of be looking at this as like inspired from Carnotaurus, because pretty much everything matches up. It has the correct arms, it has the correct body, it has lips, it has the correct horns. It looks fantastic in this game. It's just bigger than Carnotaurus would have been in life. And once again, I want to mention Prehistoric Kingdom, even though Carnotaurus is not out yet, because there is a time where they announced a ton of creatures that will be coming to their game. One of those is Carnotaurus, and they just have absolutely beautiful designs in this game. I love this Carnotaurus design. The scales look great, the horns are fantastic, and I really like how the throat kind of extends down a little bit. That's something that I saw on the Ceratosaurus, and it just feels right to me. You know, it's something that I really like seeing on animals like this, as well as the kind of color variations that you can give it. I really like the patterns and colors that this guy has, and I really can't wait until it's added in the game. And then there's good old Carnivore's Dinosaur Hunter, where this design is actually kind of interesting, because there was actually a point where when this was basically added into the game, Carnivore's HD, which is the handheld game, they gave it like these really cool kind of dynamic patterns and things like that, and they did that with a couple of different dinosaurs in this game. But then those kind of like colored design choices really kind of clashed with the overall style of Carnivore's Dinosaur Hunter, which was basically this kind of retro feeling dinosaur designs. So of course, eventually that Carnotaurus was changed to this more dull, retro looking design. And, it looks fantastic and definitely fits with the game. And then on from that, we have Ark. I know that there was a Carnotaurus in the first Ark game, but the one that I really want to talk about is from Ark 2, where we got this little piece of concept art basically showing how the Ark 2 Carnotaurus looks, and I think it looks fantastic. I think that it certainly fits the style of Ark, this type of style of like this fantasy world where, these dinosaurs have exaggerated features and things like that. I've mentioned it before. And giving it longer horns, that's something that I'm surprised the first Ark didn't do, because like I said, they exaggerate the features a lot to help them fit the style of their little universe. That being said, I really like how thick it is. I really like that it has the kind of, basic build of a Carnotaurus, just with some exaggerated features here and there. It looks fantastic here. Next up in this pretty decently long list is the Primal Carnage Carnotaurus. So this is a game that I feel like we've talked about decently enough. Once again, dinosaurs versus humans, awesome game in general. Carnotaurus is one of the dinosaurs you get to play as, and it has a very good design to it. It looks a lot like a Carnotaurus, has the short arms, it has the horns, the iconic horns, and the rows of osteoderms on top. Once again, osteoderms are not what we know of with Carnotaurus, but at the time it was. And I want to point out some of the colors that you could get to give Carnotaurus, specifically like this kind of bluish color that you see right here. I really like seeing blue on these animals. It's just, I think it looks so interesting and fascinating. I like blue. I don't know. But another fantastic design right here. And I just want to throw this one in real quick because of the Jurassic franchise and, the whole licensing thing that goes with Lego. We have a Lego Carnotaurus. That's not really something I ever thought that I would see. So I think it's really cool that it exists. It's just a Lego Carnotaurus. Like, that's awesome. This one doesn't really fit in too well with pretty much any other one, although I do think that there are like small little Lego short films, so maybe it shows up there, so maybe this counts. But yeah, Lego Carnotaurus. Where can you go wrong with that? And then finally, I would be a huge fool if I didn't mention this one. Carnotaurus did have an appearance in the Lost World novel, The Lost World Jurassic Park, where this was pretty much its first ever appearance in any Jurassic Park capacity, of course, because it was the second novel. In that, it is terrifying, of course, because pretty much every dinosaur that showed up in the novels were written in such a way that they were absolutely terrifying. It is smaller than the Carnotaurus in life, and it's actually camouflaged. It's able to camouflage, another little terrifying factor as well. But I feel like it kind of had an effect on a lot of different people. Eventually Carnotaurus would come to the franchise in the future, but not in the same capacity that it did right here. So it's, of course, I think it's really, really important to mention it here, even though I don't necessarily mention book renditions of these animals too frequently. But there we have it. That is a good chunk of the many interpretations of Carnotaurus. It is a dinosaur that shows up decently frequently, and I feel like it's incredibly popular mainly because of a lot of these interpretations of it. It was definitely a really fun one for me to do. Once again, I will be having the poll up. This might be the final poll I do. It won't be the final many interpretations of. I'm just having too much fun with these videos. But it probably will be the final poll. I think I'm going to kind of go away from that and just really take it as like a request in the comments. Like, dinosaurs or prehistoric animals that are the most requested, I'll do a video on. But the next poll will likely be completely herbivorous dinosaurs, which is extremely cool because we haven't done herbivorous dinosaurs in this series yet. So that's something that I'm very excited to do. I'm excited to see which one you guys vote for and what we'll be doing in the future. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching and have an awesome day.